Jason here, one of the pro traders over at TrueTrader.net. Former market maker, been around the business since '93 or so. Everybody knows me as a goose over in the TrueTrader chat rooms. This is the Midweek Watch. I do this every week, and just hopefully you guys are really liking it. If you are liking it, make sure you guys like, and I encourage everybody to please, guys, leave your comments. Let me know what you like. I try to, always respond first thing in the morning when I see comments, so I will respond to you. Just if you have any questions or anything like that, make sure you guys are leaving comments. Just also a quick note, make sure you guys are subscribing. Ricky's putting out his Sunday prep, which has been just awesome. And it's not just the ideas and his thought process. He's been covering some really amazing psychological things that I think are just absolutely imperative in trading. He's also doing, I think, every other Thursday is method and mindset. That's on the, I think it's a True Trader Instagram. But guys, there's so much going on that we have. Make sure you subscribe so you know when we put out something new. We are talking about putting other ideas out there. So make sure you guys are doing that. So I'm going to try to keep these to about 15 minutes. I keep saying 10 minutes, and they're never 10 minutes. So I think 15 minutes, 13 minutes is a little bit more realistic. I have a bunch of ideas, so I want to get right into it. Talk a little bit about the market, talk about the ideas, and go from there. So with that all being said, let me just jump right in and start off with the one and the only disclaimer. All right, so True Trader, nor its representatives, myself, are not registered as a security broker dealer or investment advisor with the SEC or any state regulatory authorities. We are not licensed or qualified to provide investment advice. Guys, I am not here to provide you investment advice. This is for 100% for entertainment purposes only, educational purposes. Do not follow me. Do not copy me. This is just so you guys see where my mindset is when I'm starting to put together a scan and some market commentary and things of that nature. So with that being said, I will turn right up into the charts here for a second, and let's talk a little bit about the markets for a sec. So I'm gonna give you a quick, last week, if you guys remember, I told you that, we're in this choppy phase where we're under the 50-day, kind of really. I think the best way to describe it is the lack of confidence. I don't feel like there's a lot of confidence either way right now. So, with that all being said, I still feel like we're in that window. Now, today was a nice day. We were down a few hundred points at one point today. We ended up rolling green, closed up 100 on the Dow. I think we were up 0.5% or so on the NASDAQ. So that's good. But, even though in trading I used to have a joke saying one in a row is a streak, it's not really like that with the markets. You could see this huge trend that we had. This is the SPY that I have up right now, where you'd have the dips and they get immediately bought back up and just the trend continuing. So you see that it really broke the 50-day. This purple line here is the 50-day. And I told you last week that I wanted to see it hold this area right here on the SPY, which is exactly where it held. So far it's holding this area, which is kind of what I was hoping for. We'll see about, what it continues to do. I don't have a crystal ball, but I'm hoping it holds this area, starts to reclaim and head back up towards the 50-day and that 20-day, that little, which I use kind of as a little trend. Will start to curl and come back up above the 50-day. So we'll see how things play out. There's a lot going on with the markets, between interest rates, inflation, debt ceiling. There's a ton of different things that are in people's minds, and confidence, I think, is more than just a day of a turn in the market. So, still continue to be safe. There's a lot of whipsaws out there, which means, you're just to describe that to you, what's happening. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are going through this, and I'll end on this note and get right into the ideas. It's when the market is, it's obviously going up and down. It has these big whips in it, 100 points here and there. And you see your stocks, hitting a level that's, looking at support. It puts in a nice higher high, higher low. You jump into the idea only to be stopped out when the market does its pullback. And you got to be real slick when you're trading this market, because you got to know the resistance levels in the market as well as, the stocks that you're trading. And you got to kind of combine these things, because you might want a point in a trade, but it might only give you 60 cents and as the market starts hitting resistance levels. So it's a real challenging market. What ends up happening with the whipsaw is you get stopped out, you see it hold again once the market does its pullback, it holds those other lows, you jump back in it only to be stopped out again when the market flushes, and it's just going back and forth. And I know a lot of people this happens to in this kind of market. So just try to stay safe. It's hard to describe these things, but, in real time, it's definitely something that I could tell what's going on. And you will too over time. It's not the easiest market right now. But every day, I promise, there's opportunities, whether the market's up or down 400 or 500 points or flat, there's always opportunities. And that's what we're seeking to find out. So with that all being said, let me jump into some ideas here. And we're going to start. I don't need to pull up the Qs. The Qs look the same, by the way. I had the SPY up the whole time. But the Qs, you could also see this yellow line is a 126 day, which is a 6-month moving average. And you can see the Qs are also holding that same thing, which is kind of what I wanted on the SPY and the Q. So far so good with that. All right, so let's jump in. The first idea that I have this evening is ASO. So here we go, Academy Sports and Outdoors, ASO. So what I wrote down in ASO had actually a pretty strong day today. I wrote down 40.45 for a possible long here, which you can see is right off this quarterly pivot, 40.45, and there's a 50-day right here. I'm looking for a little bit of a retrace. It closed on highs. It hit my market Smith. It's real high. What I'm looking for, the reason I want to join this so close to it, which isn't a full retrace, is probably about a 50% or so what I'm looking for on it. If I zoom it in, you'll see it had a nice day today, closed up on highs. Switching it off, so you can see this is the intraday. This is the intraday chart. This is a 1 minute. I can switch that to a 5 minute too if you guys want. Sorry, let me blow this up a little bit better for you. So you can see how the stock kind of closed up on highs on this. And what I was looking for on this is this break right here. And this is why it hit my radar. I feel like if it gets over this 41 area, I think it's going to head right up into this next consolidation. And I think there's a nice little opportunity there. I know it's not a huge ATR, a little bit under 2. But if you buy it right off this 50-day and this quarterly pivot, it could be a nice opportunity there. So that's what I'll be looking at. So that's on ASO. All right. Next opportunity that I'm looking at is GE. Good old GE. Let me zoom this out for a second. And you guys could probably see right away what I'm looking at. You guys are starting to get to know me. I wrote down a long, possibly off 102, which happens to be a previous low, a 200-day, a monthly pivot, and a quarterly pivot, all in one area, okay? So that's right off here. You got the previous low. You can see it was bought up today. It actually closed above the 50-day. Why would I have this on my list? You could ask me and say, closed above the 50. It's not really close. Why would you put this on your list down here? Because I don't know if the market's going to gap down 300 points tomorrow morning. I don't know what's going to come out overnight. So I want to be prepared. If it comes in and touches this 200-day and this previous low and this quarterly pivot and monthly pivot down here, I want to be alive there. So that's why I throw these ideas out there, by the way. So GE off 102, I do like. So let's continue on. Let's go into Capital One, COF. And I wrote down a possible long off 164.40. And what I wrote on this was the previous low, closed above the 50-day and the higher lows. And what I wanted to show you on this, so I looked at some of the bank stocks. I've been watching DFS and some of these other names. COF really kind of is catching my eye here. And what I'm looking at here is also these higher lows. So based on, down here at this 155 area, I think it was 155, right? Made a nice higher low, but did a nice push, higher low. Is this another higher low off the 50-day, which would be nice? And that's what I'm looking for. So I'm watching this closed above the 50-day. Let's see if it wants to test this previous day's low, which is just below the 50-day here, and make another leg up. So COF, I'll be watching off 164.40 is what I wrote down. You'll see I have a lot of longs today, by the way, or they're all longs. Listen, with the way the market's been, and I think it's a little bit oversold. I'm not saying it's going to start ripping tomorrow or anything like that, or the next day, but I do feel it's oversold. I'm looking for opportunities over oversold names. So that's what I'm kind of looking at. And also names that have been strong that have shown a little weakness with the market, which you'll see a few of those names on my list as well. Hold on. I got to dip into my Olaf cup here for a sec for some water. All right. That's what happens when you have kids. All right. ASAN. Let's keep going. ASAN, I wrote down a long off 101.10, which happens to be the previous low, today's low, as well as and when I say previous day, I'm assuming you guys are going to watch this tomorrow morning or overnight. So today's low at 101.10 and also a monthly pivot, okay? And this is a name, by the way, that all day long today was a real strong name. I'll pull this up also. It was held the VWAP all day long today, ASAN. As you can see there, that white line is the VWAP. But what I'm looking at is this monthly pivot and this previous low, as you can see, and another leg up today, tomorrow. So that's what I'm hoping for. So that's on ASAN. That is a long off 101.10. Next name is letter M, Macy's, okay? This is a real interesting name. You can see a nice little trend line. If I drew it, if I were to draw a trend line right here, you kind of see where it lined right up as well. But Macy's, I put a long off 21.10. You have a previous low, a quarterly pivot, and a 50-day there. So let's zoom in for a second. You can see the Macy's right off this quarterly pivot with this little pink dotted line, 50-day, as well as a previous low. Okay, so that's Macy's. I'll be watching off 21.10. It's a name, it's been pretty strong, you can see, since earnings. pulled back. And what I'm looking for is this higher low right here off this. I think the market's helped it coming in a little bit, so we'll see what happens if I'm right. But Macy's looks like a nice opportunity for me, so I'll be watching that one real close. AMAT. So AMAT's been on my list quite a bit lately. I think the name's been a little bit oversold, but I'll be watching it off 125.30. All right, let me zoom it in a little bit here and off this 125.30 area. And what I wrote down on AMAT was the previous low and the 200-day and the annual pivot. Okay, so you can see it all kind of bunched up right here. I wrote down 125.30. The previous low is a little bit higher than that. It was 125.70, but you can see the 200-day is 125.30 and the 125.15 is the annual pivot. So I'm going to watch AMAT, see if it wants to hold this. I'm in my mind, I'm thinking AMAT's going to have one of those days, one of these type of candles soon, as it may be off the 200-day. So if the market does participate and we start holding over the next couple days, I want to be around for that candle. I think it's with the markets really kind of come in. So I'll be watching AMAT. Now here's one that I know we talked a lot about recently. That's Electronic Arts. That's EA. So listen, when this stock was down here at 125, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, I did my scan and said how ridiculous it is when the game, is delayed and the stock comes in 20 points or whatever. And here we are again. They're talking about the beta version not being impressive. They might have to continue to delay it some more. And all of a sudden you had this big dip today, this crazy dip. Listen, that's opportunity for me. I wrote down 130 and 129. All right. So that's what I'm looking at right here. 130 is a prior monthly. All right, now, just because it's so heavy, I don't know whether I traded off the previous low or not. I want to see what the action is. So I'm hoping for another wash tomorrow and see if it's heavy. It was really heavy all day today. So I'm hoping for, when we were trading it, I think there was one time in here that I was trading it. And when I did, I noticed how heavy it was. And it continued for a couple days. So with this news, let's see if there's some continuation over the next day or so. But with that, we'll provide some opportunity. Prior monthlies right off 130. You got the whole number there on EA. And then 129 right below that, you have a monthly pivot and a quarterly pivot, okay? So that's what I'm looking for on EA. I think this could be a really good one. I do think it's oversold. Doesn't mean it can't come back to 125, but I want to be around to see what it does off 129 and 130. All right, let's keep cooking here. I didn't realize how fast my time is going. Already in 12 minutes or so. And I have AMD. AMD, I wrote down a long off 101 and a quarter. That's 101.25. AMD, I wrote down prior quarterly pivot. Had a really strong day today. So let me zoom this in for a second. It closed on highs. 101 and a quarter. Was it 101 and a quarter? Hang on. 101 and a quarter is, it was off the fib retrace is what I was doing in the previous quarterly. Okay, that's what I wrote down on that. It's a prior quarterly pivot. Had a real strong day. And if I were to draw, you can see how my cursor is right now, okay? If I were to draw a fib on this, you could see that'd be right about 65%, right? You can see from this candle right here where my thing is. So I know I'm expecting you guys to answer. You're not going to answer, but here we go. So that retrace falls right into that prior quarterly pivot. Had a really strong day today. I've been watching it off the $100 number quite a few days in a row. It's been holding there, that 99 to 100 area. If the market does show a little bit of strength at all tomorrow, I think AMD might be a nice one to join on any weakness. So I want to be around on that. That's the fib level is probably 101 and a quarter. NUE, my next name. So NUE is another one. I've followed this name for a little bit. I'm looking for a long off 94.60 where their annual pivot and the previous low. The previous low is a little bit below it, but this is a name. I know it's an odd one to have up there because of the way the chart looks. But if you pull this back, you can see it was a really strong name, kind of pulled back. Actually had pretty decent earnings, if I remember correctly. Had this big push, and it's just kind of continued to, stall out here. I think NUE, it actually provided a nice opportunity off last time it came off the annual pivot. I'm looking for that same type of opportunity there. Make it maybe a double bottom here off this little low. So let's see what happens. NUE, annual pivot, prior low. I think it's oversold, and I think there's going to be a $100 magnet on this thing. So I want to be around. If I get really good entry where I could risk off today's low as well as that annual pivot, I think you could have a nice day. Last two, I'll go through them quickly. CCJ. So this is a name I followed, uranium name, right? It's done a nice little pullback, had a huge push. It was a real strong name, pulled back. I actually traded this a little bit, had a good trade on it. It's come back into a pocket that I really like, this 21 level. It's a name I followed. If you draw a trend line on this short term, You can see it's right on the trend line right here. I'll zoom it in for you so you can see a little bit better. But if I were to draw a trend line, you'd see it right into that trend line there. So I'm going off this previous day's low, and I'll be watching off 20. You could call it 20, right at the number 21. See if it holds that number. And this is a name, by the way. Don't let it fool you. It has a dollar range, but this is a name that can give you $1.50 or $2 on a trade. You can see a couple of these candles that it has are pretty decent candles. This is a $1.50 candle right here. A couple of these are $2 candles. So don't be fooled just because of the ATR. I think this can give a little bit more than the ATR on this trade. So that's why I have it CCJ off 21. All right, last name is going to be Overstock. One more sip of water. Sorry. It's been a long day and I've lost my voice almost. All right, Overstock, I'm calling along, looking at it at 73.25, okay? That's what I'm thinking about. And I wrote down a previous low. Listen, this was a real strong name, it was looking like. I think the market pulled this name back, and I'm looking at opportunity here. I'm trading this right off the previous low. It's a name I've been tracking. But let's watch a previous low of Overstock was 73.20, which is right where I put it, 73.25. It's still above the 50-day. Had a nice push. Market kind of came in. You can see these big candles with the market. But I'm looking for this to turn around, reclaim the 200-day, and start heading back up north. So that's Overstock off 73.25, and that is all of them. So I appreciate you guys. Hope you guys are liking what we're putting together here between Ricky and on Ricky's Sunday and my Wednesday midweek watch. We appreciate you guys. If you do like it, please like it on subscribe. Make sure you guys comment. I actually love reading the comments when I get in the morning and seeing what you guys think and what your thoughts were. If you have any questions, I like seeing it. So make sure you guys are doing it. And if you also like it, by the way, and it's not just for my my midweek watch. If you guys are on Twitter, make sure you guys share it. Retweet it. Give it a retweet when we put it out there. The more eyes on it, it helps everybody. I mean, we're putting out the free content. It helps. Hopefully, it's helping other people. I get some really good notes that people are liking these. So spread the word. So I appreciate it, and most of all, come check us out over at truetrader.net. Okay. All right, guys. You guys have a wonderful evening, and I will see you bright and early in the morning. Thank you very much.